And welcome back. My next guest is Bob Revito, a Korean-era war veteran and a longtime Clarkstown resident. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, thanks for coming on. And as this segment, we really like to talk a little bit with somebody who's involved within our community and somebody that's also done some time within the military. So, for the benefit of our viewers, maybe you could speak a little bit about your background, where you were born and raised, and how did you end up in Clarkstown?
I was born in Pennsylvania, in a small town called Coltmont. When I got out of service in 1956, there were no opportunities back there in Pennsylvania, so myself, like many others, we packed up and we went to different areas. I ended up in Yonkers for 10 years because my wife had a sister living in Yonkers, and I wasn't too happy there, so we moved to Rockland County, and I've been here in my same house for 50 years. I'm very happy in the community and got involved with the community with sports and music and so forth, and this is my home.
So tell me a little bit about your time in Pennsylvania. You recently, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, were actually inducted into the Hall of Fame out there for your time playing football.
Yes.
So what position did you play in football?
I was a guard, and I played football in high school, 4 years on the course of varsity, and then went to college and played college ball for a year, and then got drafted. And then I went to the service.
What college did you
Mansfield State Teachers College. And, I guess it's near about 30 miles south of Elmira, I guess. And it was I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. That's what I wanted to be. But unfortunately, the Army was drafting, so I requested my draft and went a few months earlier because I wanted to get in. And then I went to spend 2 years in the Army, and after the Army, that's why I came out to New York. Yeah.
And maybe when you came out here, I guess you settled for a time over in Valley Cottage area, and you also did some coaching for the Valley Cottage Indians as well?
Yes, I coached. I started off coaching Pop Honor football in Yonkers for 10 years. Then I moved to Rockland, and I coached Valley Cottage for 20 years. And in 1987, I went and coached Nyack High School for 10 years.
Wow.
And that's when I stopped coaching, I guess around 2000. And went back to school at night under the GI Bill, got my degree and so forth. I went to hospital administration, and I worked in the hospital field for like 40-some years.
Wow. Wow. So you've had a very diverse experience. Maybe we talk a little bit about your service. You were drafted, you said, into the Army.
Yes.
What year did you get drafted?
1954. I requested my draft. They were drafting, and rather than waiting, I was going to get drafted in maybe 4 or 5 months. Rather than wait, I requested to go earlier, like many other of my friends, and we requested our draft, and that's when I went to the Army.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your time in the Army. So you did a couple of years, 2 years in the Army, and where were you stationed, and what were some of your assignments?
I was stationed at Fort Bragg. I started off in basic training in the artillery, and after 16 weeks of basic training, it so happened to be tryouts for the base football team who played a lot of professionals who were in the service. They all played football, and they played Navy base, Army base, he played other Air Force and so forth, Marines. And I luckily made the football team, and that's what I did for the 2 years I was in the service. For the next 2 years, I just played football.
Oh, that's great.
Like special services, in other words. You travel around to entertain all the other soldiers, different bases and so forth.
And were there any notable folks that you played against or played with?
Well, in the service there was a few guys who played professional football. James Ray Smith was one of them. Played with, I think, Dallas Cowboys, and Art Hunter, who was a center for Notre Dame, and there was a few others, but I don't recall all the names. But it's been so long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was several, and there was it was good football.
Yeah, it's amazing, when you think about today's day and age. When I talk with young folks, it's for quite a lengthy period of time there was a draft. I mean, certainly during times of war, and then in the 50s, and that, and going through. Now, of course, it's a volunteer military these days, but it's just a time, a different era, if you will, where pretty much if you're an able-bodied male, you're going to be drafted, and you're going to end up in the service at some point, and somewhat foundational. But you have a very unique experience because not everybody ends up in combat.
Exactly.
And then not everybody ends up in a special assignment like you ended up in.
Yeah.
That must have been really an interesting time in your life.
It was interesting. The only bad thing about being in special service is I didn't get to see other countries. I didn't go overseas, and now I sort of said, gee, maybe it would have been nice to go to maybe to Germany. And because when I went in, I think the war ended in February, and I went in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of missed the boat and seeing other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than I loved doing what I was doing,
right.
So, and it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of special services in special duty in the services, there's musicians that play in the bands, and there's other sports,
mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of people who do that and don't see combat.
Right. The other thing, Bob, that for folks that have watched this show or watched this station, watched our public access channel, we also broadcast the Senior Citizen Show,
Yes.
which former Councilman John Maloney has really done for very many years, and you're a stalwart within that
Yes.
within that program. Maybe you could speak a little bit about your involvement with the seniors, and particularly with the Senior Citizen Show.
Well, seeing you like music, so that was nice. I always said I used to go to the shows all the time. I must have seen 20, 30 shows before I even went into it.
Right.
I used to go with friends. I said, when I retire, I'm going to try out for the senior show.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm doing it now about 14 years, probably 13, 14 years. And it's quite an experience. I make good friends, get to entertain the other people who come to see the show. It gives us something to do in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
We rehearse twice a week. And it's all pluses. I don't see minuses.
Yeah.
And the director, before it was, now it's John Maloney, and he's great. The guy is unbelievable. The man is unbelievable. He just he remembers everything. Remembers all our parts, and he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
Like he has a birthday coming up this Friday, I believe. But and I think the people seem to enjoy the senior show.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad we'd like to have more people involved.
My favorite joke about John Maloney, because he's great with the jokes. I actually pulled a joke on him. I saw him after he was down with the Pope at St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I said, John, I was a little confused. I didn't understand who was that next to you on TV. But no, he's really incredible. Former Councilman Maloney had been here as a councilman, I think, for 36 years.
Right.
I had the pleasure of serving with him for just about a year on the town council together, and have a great deal of respect for John. He's somebody that's really given a lifetime of service. You're involved with Music Makers, which is a group of seniors that sings and raises money for Meals on Wheels. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
It's another terrific group that consists of about 12 of us, I believe. There's 3 musicians and the rest of us 8 other vocalists. Plus we all sing. We rehearse every Wednesday at the Conservatory of Music in Pearl River, Rockland. And we probably do on the average of 2 to 3 jobs a month in various nursing homes and assisted living, libraries and so forth. And we don't accept any money. All the money we make goes to Meals on Wheels. And we're sponsored by Meals on Wheels. And also the Rockland County, another Rockland County group. And it's good because the people in the nursing home, they seem to enjoy it.
Right.
They clap their hands and they dance and they have a good time. And it's just a good thing. It's good for the community.
Yeah. And you have a beautiful voice. I've had the occasion to hear you sing very many times at some of the senior shows and others. For those that are watching this, this will air in in March, and the senior show is right around the corner. It's actually April 29th.
Right.
Is the senior show. You're also involved in the St. Anthony Players, the St. Anthony show.
Yes, they have a show this year, Fiddler on the Roof, and I play drums the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for that show, and I rehearse occasionally with them, not every week, but maybe once or twice a month. And there are also a few seniors in that show, but mostly younger people.
Right.
And they put a good show on, and it's a good event. It's another.
Yeah, and the dates on that are May 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yes.
And you can get the information on that most likely from St. Anthony's website and calling over to St. Anthony's parish. But the Senior Citizen Show, the town Senior Citizen Show will be at Clarkstown South High School, and that's on the evening of April 29th. And highly recommend people the opportunity to be able to go to that show. It's typically a 2-act variety show with a theme, with a whole plot. John writes it. He gets cracking on writing it right after the show for the next year or so.
Right.
So he's and it's really an awful lot of fun. I very much enjoy that. Well, Bob, I want to thank you. We're just about out of time. I want to thank you for being such a wonderful guest. I want to thank you for your service to our country, particularly your service, to the Army, and also I want to thank you for your service here within Rockland County, within Clarkstown. The volunteerism that you're doing to help seniors is very much appreciated, and just your involvement with music and with theater, with the arts, where you bring joy in it and happiness to the people that you encounter. So I want to thank you for that, and thank you for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Rockland County Sheriff Lou Falco. Stay tuned.